All right, so I'm doing a video podcast to generate content for all of my social media stuff. I got this idea from Tom Bilyeu and Julian Blanc, where they said that if you start talking to the camera every day, then you're gonna have a lot more stories, you're gonna have a lot more, your mind's gonna be able to attach to concepts that are gonna provide value that are more externally focused rather than get caught up in your own problems and make you feel like you have nothing to say and all that stuff. So this is Monday, I think it's December 19th, and I just wanna go over a few things that really affected me. So first off, I'm a dating coach, and a lot of my clients, right now I have 2 one-on-one clients. I'm trying to pare down on the one-on-one thing because I want to do a lot more content, do a lot more online courses, do a lot more scalable stuff, because I've shifted my goal from proving that I'm a good dating coach or a good service provider, and instead of proving that, I already know that. I mean, I jumped those hurdles. So now I want to. I don't think fame is really my answer, but I definitely want to step up and get a much wider impact. Get much more of an audience to, process my ideas and mine that audience for people to help, more deeply, and get myself to the point where I'm constantly applying myself to coaching and thinking about these ideas that make me a thought leader. So I'm writing a bunch of books for Amazon, and I'm writing a bunch of content for TikTok and YouTube and trying to go wider rather than deep, because over the last 10 years of my career I went super deep, and people joke oh, I've forgotten more about this industry than you've learned yet. It's yeah, that's very close. I was listening to one of my mentors, Owen from Real Social Dynamics, and he was talking about how 20 years ago there were all of these concepts that they don't teach much anymore, even though they have value, because they've evolved in their teaching styles, and they figure out what's works, what didn't for clients. And I'm very similar. It's not like there's anything new under the sun. In the world of self-help, you can start with psychocybernetics, move on to the Napoleon Hill group, and then read early Tony Robbins, and then you basically have the whole self-help industry. It's just a bit rehash and reteach of all that stuff, but it's the nuances that apply to very particular situations, and it's the niching down into what seems to be unique problem sets that it really is the application of self-help, the application of being a life coach, application of being a dating coach, or whatever sub-niche that you're looking for. I spent a long time trying to shoehorn major concepts, a lot of stuff from NLP, a lot of stuff from the Tony Robbins thought process. I got myself certified as a Tony Robbins relationship coach, studied all of Chloe Madonna's stuff. I've done all the NLP stuff. I'm an NLP master prac. I'm a hypnotist. I've done all of these things that I tried to stand on the shoulders of the people who taught how to coach. And while I really love those technologies, and I really love those modalities of training or whatever, I also realize that coaching at the highest level is really just supporting and enabling somebody to make their own decisions, however that looks. Sometimes it's accountability, sometimes it's permission, sometimes it's providing examples so that they know what's possible, they know what's real. But there's nothing glitzy, glamoury, or fashionable about being a coach. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. There's no magic bullet. There's nothing, right? There's a lot of things that, like tech-wise, that we can point to that's going to get your results quicker. But what I figured out is, over the last 10 years of dating coaching, there's so much tech. Like, there's so much, like, the right things to say, the right vocal tonality to say it in, the right subject matters to go down. Bless me. There's so much tech there. There's like so much. There's the right lines, there's the right things to say, there's the right vocal tonality, there's the right way to use your eye contact, there's the right way to use your body language, there's the right social situations to get into, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the people who teach this stuff, including myself for the longest time, they're missing something vital. And that really is the self-awareness of the client. Like, knowing what you want is more important than knowing how to get it. If you're my client and you come and you're like, I want to whatever, don't feel lonely anymore, we're going to try to figure out what that means to you, how you evaluate that stuff, why you think you're not in the right place now, etc., before we go into any sort of modalities of fixing that. Because problems are relative. Like, we all share human problems. We all share the insecurities and the pain of life, the struggles of life, the facing down seemingly impossible things. We all feel disassociated. We all feel rejected. There's all these other things that we feel on a constant basis that is just a human experience. And without knowing how you define what your issue is, you can't really create any solutions. And so one of the main pillars of kind of how I approach coaching is that you need to know not only what you want, but what it'll look like when you get there. And you need to know it for yourself. There's so many of my clients that they think they want something particular, like I want to bang hot girls, or I want to be in a loving relationship where I'm provided for, or whatever. I want a girl who's nurturing. I want somebody who will have fun adventures with me and not give me too much shit. They think they want this thing, but those goals are really projections externally from something that they've seen from one of their mentors or from one of their parents or something, right? So they'll go in and be like, I want a good girl who's going to treat me right, who's going to be securely attached and not going to give me any horseshit. But they don't actually want that, because what they're actually attracted to is somebody who just kind of validates them or tells them they're okay, right? And that's kind of the thing that they need to fix right then. It has nothing to do with their ideals that their mom thinks they should have, or what they saw in a movie once and, okay, that's my goal, right? When you're in a stage of discovery, I think it's important to look for models in the environment. When you're trying to figure some shit out and you're like, okay, what exists, what's possible, and then you can go out and see, okay, this is how this relationship works, and these are these people, they're happy because of this, or they're suffering but they continue to make it work, or whatever it is. Like, you figure all that stuff out, and then having all that data, you can go to a point of implementation and go get what you think you want. And sometimes once you get it, you realize, oh, I don't want that anymore, I want something else. And then you refine your standards, you refine your values, and you refine what you think you deserve, and then you step up in your self-concept and your ability to accomplished the thing that you were looking for. So I think all coaching should really come from a place of self-awareness. Some people do that in the marketing. So, if you adhere to a particular coaching model, you want to be told what to do, and then the marketing kind of tells you this is what's going to happen. Then you sort of self-selected yourself in a particular coaching modality. I believe in mastery. I believe that there are people in the world who have spent so much time studying and relating and helping people in a certain space that they have keen insights that you're not going to get from other places, right? Like, I think that there are experts. I think there are masters. I myself have spent over 12 years focusing solely on dating, to the chagrin, or what's the word? To the disadvantage of almost everything else in my life. Like, I've obsessed about this subject for so long that kind of where I'm at in my life doesn't match like the blueprint of the other people that are my age, right? Like they've already kind of passed the point of what I'm teaching, and then they're off in their marriages and they're raising children. Like, some of my friends' kids are like half as old as they are. Like it's ridiculous how long I've spent in this like first 8 hours, 7 to 10 hours of two humans meeting and trying to make something work in a dating scenario. I've studied this particular section so hard and in detail, and with the best experts in the industry, and I'm continuing to study every day. I'm obsessed with this shit. It's like rocket scientists. Like, they don't have any friends or social or whatever, and they're doing these big engineering things that nobody else can do because they don't have that pedigree, right? I think that there's a lot to be said about mastery. That when you find a guru or a teacher or a mentor or something, that they should have basically mastered their craft, and they also are continuing to try to master their craft rather than moving in something that gets old. Because while all human problems are common, right? Like your grandmother and your great-grandmother had the same dating problems that you have now. Like, as far as personal viewpoints and insecurity and like difficulty, they have the same kind of challenges. We just meet them in different ways nowadays, right? When I feel lonely, I don't just like go hang out at my buddy's house and then try to bang his wife. Like it's I have a lot more access, with Tinder and airplanes and all the other technologies that allow me to go to a different city and meet a completely different class of person. It doesn't mean that I'm not still having to fix the main core problem of loving myself and giving myself the things that I need, but it also means that we have to approach things differently. And I think that all of the gurus and the masters and the teachers and the professors, they need to continue to work in real time with the same concepts, right? People who are on the front lines, somebody who can really tell you what's going on in real time, is a particular kind of coach that is super useful for very targeted, like tell me what to do right now type of coaching. I think that's important. But I also think it's important that you continue to research and you start to put things together in a more cohesive way across a span of time. Because a lot of times when people are like students, clients, or, consumers of coaching content, when they're in a particular problem, the view is very myopic. It's like right in the middle of the shit, and they can't disassociate themselves from the problem right then in order to give themselves a better perspective of the longer or more future projected trajectory. They will get kind of like stuck on one thing. I was talking to this guy last night. I was over at the bar. It's very, very cold, so there's not many people out. But because I'm constantly trying to stay in the currency of the dating scene. I'm always going out. And I ran into this guy, and back in November, he had told me that he wanted to come to one of my workshops and that he wanted to really fix his issues and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, come on. Here's the cost. Here's, the travel stuff. And he wasn't really about it because it costs money. And so at the end of the day, he didn't show up. And then I ran into him last night, and he was talking about how he had sort of seduced a local bartender. And he showed me the text messages, and he asked my opinion, and I just kind of laughed to myself because it was like the most uncalibrated, like, it wasn't cool. Like, the person that he targeted was not particularly available. She was already in a relationship, but she wasn't happy with the relationship. They didn't make a connection that was any sort of connection. It was just like, oh, he's showing me attention and I really like being validated, and I would also like to have sex. And he was like, oh, she's showing me attention, so I'd really like to be validated, and I would also like to have sex. Like, that was it. And I'm not making a moral judgment on this thing, but like, he was so myopic because he was like in scarcity. He didn't want to do anything that didn't have to do with him getting like immediately validated, immediately laid. And then after that happened, like, he didn't carry on the relationship. Like, it was just like, it took him 3 months to organize a one night stand. And it's like that was a lot of work, bro. Like, why is this a win for you? And if you project this out into the future, are you going to do that like every 3 months? So you're going to get laid like once a quarter with consistency, if you keep it up? No, he tells me, oh no, I don't really, I'm not really into sex right now. I'm just kind of working on myself. And okay, great. But is that because you didn't have a great experience? It didn't fulfill the needs that you thought it was going to fulfill? Or is it because it's too difficult and you're a lazy piece of shit and you like to justify? D, all of the above could be true. And it's important that whoever's coaching you can see kind of outside of your little problem and then kind of in a more longevity-based thing. A lot of my clients, I'll tell them about what it means to go out and have a lot of casual sexual encounters, which I don't really have a moral problem against, but it's such a, it's like such a small piece of the pie. Like, you're learning these skills of like how to talk to yourself and how to look at the future in ways that are optimistic, and how to manifest things, how your thoughts affect the world, and how your chosen action open up new opportunities for you, and all of these tools that we use in self-development. One of my old mentors, Arash Dibazar, he said, all of the tools that you're learning in self-development, I'm paraphrasing, he said, if you're only using them to get laid, you're missing like 90% of what they could be used for. Like, you have power in your hands, and it's just small thinking to like apply them to one small particular problem. And just as much as it is to like change your pickup lines or your way of communication or the way you talk to other people and get different results, you can change the way that you talk to yourself. You can change the way that you think on a day-to-day basis, and it will create new opportunities and open entirely new result sets that have nothing to do with what you thought, right? Like, most of the reasons why we don't go towards success is the fact that we can't see success on the other side. We don't have a clear picture of what it is. We don't have a reference experience to say, this is where I'm going. These are the things it's going to take to get there. I'm going to take these actions and I'm going to get there. It's more, we're exploring along the path of implementation. And then, so when we run into problems that they may be too complex for us to understand as we move forward in implementation. So it helps to have a peer group, a cohort, or a coach that has been slogging through those things before, and will be able to tell you, like, it's going to be okay. Here's what to expect. Here's what's going to come up. Here's how you deal with those kinds of things. And when you're able to have that kind of conversation with yourself and trust and feel into the unknown, because you have a certain level of support from the coach or the cohort or the people around you, then it makes it a lot easier. I think naturally, before we had life coaches and professors and teachers, we would rely on our peer group or our village mentality to tell us what to do. A lot of people rely on family values and what we got modeled as children. And as we move forward, like the TikTok culture of psychotherapy is kind of like, everything comes from your childhood. Whoa, big fucking mind-blowing explosions. Like, yeah, absolutely, but like there's very little solutions in these fucking reels and these like 10-second videos. Like, it's one thing to have the self-awareness to be like, I am anxiously attached, or I am an INTP, and that means I need to, whatever. Like, sure, you get these like top 10 ways to feel like you're dating a narcissist. Okay, great. So, but it doesn't say how to heal, how to solve, how to do the work, how to fucking dig in, find the pieces that are not serving you, and then, kiss them along goodbye. Like, there's no resolution in standing on the edge and pointing out all the problems. So I think that's what the value of coaching is you go in to solve a particular problem, and then you realize that you have to do the work in order to solve the problem, and then somebody's there to kind of support you as you go forward and do the work. I spent a long time as an accountability coach where all I would do was like turn people's phrases back on themselves and make them think about the assumptions they're making about who they were, and then prompt them to make decisions that they could stick to and build their self-worth or their ability to trust themselves. And that was really useful, except for the fact that when the clients come back and they wanted a particular result, and that's why they purchased the thing, if they don't get the result that they were looking for in the bounds or the framework that they thought they should get the result in, like, at the end of the day, I should not only bang the hottest chick I know, but I should also feel like a competent leader in that relationship, and eventually, be able to change her so that she can meet all of my ideals. Like, if you make those assumptions, like, you're not going to find somebody who's going to follow all of that stuff in an authentic way, right? I have a lot of really, really rich friends who can basically pay for what they want. They invite these girls, and for 3 months, the girls will show up and then, be everything they ever wanted to be, but it isn't who they are at the core. And so once the glitz and the glamour and the fun runs out, or they stop paying for everything or whatever, the girls just fucking bounce and they look for the next person who's going to kind of fuel their fun or fuel their financial part of their lifestyle. And it's like, I can't find love because girls just want me for my money, or girls just want me for my resources, or they just want my fucking status. They want to get into the clubs I'm getting into. Yeah, exactly. It's because you're leading with this thing that isn't setting any bounds on it didn't set any standards on the kind of girls that you want to come into your life. And two, you're not being vulnerable enough for them to see what it is that they actually want to connect with, right? Human connection, just like one step further than sex, one step further than sharing moments and feeling like you have a lot aligned, like, emotionally. Beyond that, like, there's the part of humanity that's familial, or the part of humanity that's tribal. Like you want to have the values of somebody who's useful in the tribe. Like, whether you're supportive or whether you're pushing people to follow their dreams and adventures, or whether you're the kind of person you can sit and listen, the kind of person who solves problems when they exist, the kind of person who does conflict resolution. Like, these are all large scale skill sets in humanity that are super, super valuable. But if you just look at, like, are you going to accept me and validate me and fuck me? It's like such the surface level of the pot, right? Like, I want to know if you're going to lock me out when you're angry. I want to know if you're going to cut and run when you can't deal with things. I want to know if you're going to communicate and negotiate rather than ignore everything and hope everything's going to turn out all right. I want to know if you're going to choose to be a victim. I want to know if you're going to choose to solve problems and be okay if problems aren't completely 100% solved. And I want to know if your entire self-concept is going to collapse if you don't get your expected result. Like, these are the things that are important as far as longevity is concerned in a relationship, and it's really difficult to do that if you don't have your primary needs met there. Like, if you're not able to negotiate, it's going to be very difficult to know if you're good at negotiating, right? So all of that to say is, I think coaching is direly necessary, and I think there are different types of coaches. People who are down on the front lines and help you navigate frontline problems, and then people who see things with a more longitudinal viewpoint and can kind of usher you into longevity and make you think about the bigger things and prioritize things in a way that gets you results that you don't have to fucking strike again and try to bring a I think the analogy, what I'm trying to say is that, like, there are people who go out and they work, dollars for hours, and then they will go and, they'll lose a job, and then they got to go start it up again and start from scratch, and they're always trying to chase the paycheck. And then there are other people who kind of build wealth, who generate streams and groups and audiences and whatever. So in the same way, like, people who are really worried about the validation, and people worried about like sexual access and sexual market value, those people are, like, starting from scratch every single time. And I think it's great, except for the fact that if you want to be more fulfilled, if you want to be able to rest in someone, be able to build, like, advanced levels of trust with somebody, then you got to take those risks and do those things and go down those modalities instead of trying to force a square peg into a round hole by, so to speak, by every person you meet trying to make them meet a particular group and standard of things. So I think it's important to have both kinds of coaches, the people who can show you how to fix problems in real time, and then also people who can show you what it all means in the larger grand scheme of things. And then eventually, like, ideally, being able to show you how to find those things in yourself, so you don't need to look to an external source to figure that out. I got a client. He's been with me for about 1.5 years, one-on-one, and he called me yesterday, and he's falling in love again with this new girl that, did all the sexual things that he thought was, important. And then he's going out on another date with these other girls, and he's like, hey, this one didn't want to hook up, like, I don't know how to deal with this, and it fucks with my ego because I thought I was good at, like, and I'm like, bro, like, even if you're good at connecting with people, it doesn't mean that everybody should be connected to you. It doesn't mean that waiting 3 dates in this particular instance makes you a bad human. Like it's like, people are different. They have different wants, needs, and goals. And yeah, you need to kind of dig in and try to figure out what she's looking for, and you can have a real vulnerable conversation about it if that'll help. But like, what are you measuring yourself against? Like, and I kind of realized yesterday that this guy has grown so much since I started working with him, and he went from a guy who just wasn't sure if he could talk in a social environment, and then to a guy who's like getting multiple dates a week and building this great lifestyle, where he goes snowboarding, does whatever the hell he wants. But really, at the core, he doesn't think he's doing well. Like he can't see, what do they call it, moving the goalposts. Like every time he makes a goal, you're like, oh, well, I'm not good enough still because of this other thing. I'm not good enough still because of this other thing. And it goes over and over and over again. And me as a coach, I've seen that quite a bit. But by the nature of my coaching, like without having a lot of long-term clients, people who have been with me a couple of years, I always thought before that, like, if you come to me to get fixed on something, then after I'm done with you on the week or the weekend or whatever the workshop is, you should be fixed. Otherwise I didn't do my job well. And in a certain sense that's true with my long-term clients. They got fixed, but then they found another problem and then they want to fix that. And then they found another one and they want to fix that and they want to fix that. And a lot of that comes from this internal need to solve, this internal need to fix because they don't feel good enough in the first place. I struggled with this myself for a very, very long time. And there are pockets of time during the months where I get a little bit more depressed, and then I fall into this kind of thinking where it's like, oh, I'm not good enough, so I need to find something else to beat so I can prove to myself I'm good enough again. And at least I'm proving it to myself and not everybody else. But there's a clear delineation between from problem to problem for me. Like, there are things I know I've fixed that they're going to stay fixed, and I have the right strategies and I have the right tools. And there are other things that I fixed, but they weren't real fixes. They were just situational, or they were too minute. And so I need to find a larger or broader solution so that I don't have an issue with dealing with my strategy isn't completely covering the whole what it needs to cover. So I think, in moving towards mastery, you also have to find frameworks and strategies that can cover broader experiences and broader problems, so that you can kind of ascend the problem-solving space. Anyway, I think I went off on a weird tangent there, but all of the above is super important to me recently. I've been questioning whether or not I should release some of the products that I was planning on doing this year, but I think 2023 is going to be a pretty big year in the coaching space. Like, I'm not doubting myself as a coach anymore. I'm not trying to prove myself there. It's like I've already done that. Now I'm trying to go wide. Now I'm trying to go super. I want to connect with such a large audience that all of my stuff has to fix and focus to mass distribution rather than going super deep with my one-on-one clients. So I think I'm going to do one-on-one clients again for Q1 in 2023, and if probably do a year-long thing, but I'm only going to take like 5 or 6 of them so that I can really, really focus on large mass appeal content. And in doing that, I think I'm going to weed out kind of moving the goalposts and sticking in the same kind of emotional rut, even if your results are constantly changing. I'm kind of sick of that. And then I'm going to go into much larger like group tutoring type sessions where we talk about one particular issue with a big group of people, and then help share each other's experience and help each other heal in a group environment. I think that's going to be a lot better for us as coaches on my team, and then also for our clients. They're going to give a new kind of revolutionary way to fix this stuff. Like, it's not like I'm coming up with something new doing group coaching, but like I want a personalized experience that also creates the community aspect and make lifelong friends in this cohort of people who are solving one particular problem. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so I'm going to focus on that Q1, and then probably phase out of one-on-one coaching in the first 3 months of the year. And then we're going to amp up the live events with the work that I'm doing with Limitless. I'm going to go to as many cities as I can and get myself in front of people that can truly use the tools instead of using it as entertainment, which is kind of what the mass audience thing is going to start doing. I mean, I still want to make a fucking impact, so I think it's important to put myself out there live as well. Anyway, so that's the plan. This is Christmas week. I'll be back tomorrow with another ramble and thought experiments, and yeah, I think this podcast is going to go for the ILA channel. So this is Intimacy. This is Duke for Intimacy Liberation. This is Duke for the Intimacy Liberation Army, and thank you for joining me. I will see you guys tomorrow. Until then, stay awesome.